Alexandre, last question for you. I want to ask you to sort of speculate on what's going to happen next in France. As you said, there has been a spike in Islamist extremist attacks in 2020. I don't think there's been any so far in 2021. If you could sort of share with my listeners some idea as to where do you see the threat going? So is it a matter of an increased sort of threat from Islamist extremism? Do you think the far right is going to get their act in gear and become more organized, perhaps with help from the far right in other Western European countries? There's a lot of talk these days about sort of the internationalization of the far right. Not really sure what that means, but and I'm not sure if it's accurate. But you know, from the security perspective, I assume your country has a threat level. You rank the general threat from terrorism in Canada. It's at level 3. It's been at medium for the past decade, as far as I can tell. Where do you see violent extremism going in your country, Alexandre?
So I think you have to start by talking about the jihadi situation. We had a growing number of attacks last year. I think it's going to start. It's going to start again this year. We have a few elements who are proving to be increasing the threat. The coronavirus is being one of them. The jihadists know that the security system is under stress, so it's easier to attack now. Because of the lockdown and the curfews, it's harder to find a target. So it slowed down a bunch of efforts from jihadists to strike. But they stay the first threat in France by sheer numbers, because of their organization and the lethality they can bring to an attack. When the situation is going to end, we're probably going to have to face a number of attacks. Another element was interesting on the subject is that we are going to be organizing the trial for the Bataclan attacks, the subsequent attack of
Yes.
November the 13th. That kind of event usually brings up the threat level of the Vigipirate plan, which is the monitor of the threat in France. So that's going to be a big question. We're also afraid of some what we call the reciprocal radicalisation, and because of the number of jihadist attacks from the far right, who decide to strike back. There is a growing number of people interested in far right extremism. There is a number of signs, mostly in neighboring countries, especially Germany, then the far right could be organizing, could be strategizing about striking in Western Europe. So it is obviously a concern. You also have to consider the left-wing extremism. We had a number of sabotage of a different, either like government building or 5G antennas, or places that be considered a legitimate target for left-wing extremism, car dealership, for example. So it's also a concern. Usually, they have less of a violent intent, and they don't want to kill anyone. But the sabotage have been growing, and the violence and the at least the will to strike law enforcement personnel is a concern for us.